I think the biggest issue for us at Halo Trust is really the increasing urbanization of warfare. Our job is to clear up after conflict, to destroy unexploded ordnance, and we're finding increasingly that conflicts are happening in cities, and cities themselves are expanding, and the kind of challenges we're facing now involve collapsed buildings with concrete and steel reinforcing bar. And inside that rubble, inside those pancaked and collapsed blocks of flats, there may be aircraft bombs, artillery shells, tank rounds, but also homemade devices, improvised explosive devices, suicide vests, booby traps. So we're facing a new kind of challenge that's different to the sort of minefields in paddy fields of old. I think that we need to talk to each other more, and we need to understand what we do more, I think. So often, I think in our sector, the sort of mine action sector as we're called, often other people that work in disaster response don't really understand what we do, and we need for them to understand better what we do, and for us to work more closely and respond much quicker. Because at the moment, I'm visiting trashed cities and I'm thinking, I wish we'd been here 6 months ago because we could have surveyed the whole place. But now there are already bulldozers that are beginning to flatten buildings that may contain huge numbers of explosives. I think the answer to that is it depends. I think that there are some organizations for whom that kind of fierce independence is extremely important. I think that for an organization like Halo Trust, we exist slightly on the cusp. There are times when we are working at the forward edge. If we're clearing an improvised explosive device, if it's a legacy and the people that have laid it are happy for us to clear it, well, that's fine. We can be neutral. If the people don't want us to remove it, then we're in a whole different ballgame. But of course, there may be competing desires within the community about who should clear these devices. So, we try to be as neutral as we can be, but we're clearing up items of explosive ordnance, and some people regard that in itself as an act that involves taking one side or the other. I think so. I'm not entirely convinced that a drone and an app is the answer to every problem, but I think there is a lot that can be done with drones. I think access to collapsed buildings and stuff for us is quite important. The advances, frankly, in mine clearance have been relatively slow. We're increasingly using ground-penetrating radar, which is okay, not brilliant. We would like to see some kind of method for detecting explosives that was much more effective, because at the moment, you can find technologies that can survey minefields from the air, but somebody's got to go in there and actually clear them, and that generally tends to be people. Yes, I would have thought so. I think that just as I think we need to get much better at responding to disasters, and certainly our sector needs to be able to, I would like to be able to get on the ground after a city has fallen in order to be able to start doing response immediately. But I think also we do need to be able to provide sort of education and training to people that live in particularly vulnerable cities about how they survive if they're subject to bombardment, etc. I think that people should stop hating their neighbours. I've spent my entire career clearing up after people's nasty little nationalist wars. So I would quite like to see a bit less of that, a bit more tolerance, and yes, the other two are probably far too rude to even share.